2026 Newport half and full marathon. This one's taking place on Saturday, April 18th, 2026. Before we get into the race specifics and everything like that, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and if you need any coaching insight according to you or just any coaching at all, please reach out down below. Contact info is there. So, first thing to note out here before we get into any real specifics out here on the main landing page, this is our race course right here. This is the start, which will take place right here. This is the finish for the 13.1 spot, and you'll continue on for the marathon, run back over here, and then come back over here to the finish line. Now, if you look at this American flag, which is right here, right on the beach, you can see that it is outstretched, and the wind is going to be a factor no matter what date or no matter what weather condition that you have out here. The wind is going to be a major factor. So let's dive in to the course. So this is our race location right here. This is where the start is. Then we will loop around through over here. We're going to come back over here before we go into the second half of our race and come back over here. Now, as we look at just this wind, this example right here, you can see that the wind is a little more powerful right off the side over here. This is a great example of what you could expect on race day. So this is going to be the scenario that we're going to rock with here. And as you go to the other side of the island, or as the other side of this little peninsula section right through here, the wind does calm down a little bit, and it is the most powerful right through here. And as we continue on through the race, it's going to be very similar on this side of the island as well. So we're going to continue over here before we loop back up over here for our second half, and the wind will cool down a little bit. You'll have a little more wind blockages, so it's going to break it up a little bit better out here. So it will swirl a bit more on the second half on the way back in. But this is our course. This is the first half. This is the overall course that is provided there. They have 826. We've got 983. So the difference is pretty minimal indeed. Going away from this course one last time over here, we have the aid on course. That is the noon right here. We have in each serving 5 electrolytes, 1 gram of sugar, 30 milligrams of sodium, and 10 calories. If there is no other option out here that has calories out here, you might want to plan on bringing your own for the marathon. So let's dive into our race out here. This is the first, let's call it the first 13 out here. And we could even highlight this section if I can get it right there. Our first 13.2 miles, we have 516 feet. So again, if you're looking at the elevation totals, we have more in the first half than the second half, although more people will classify the second half as the more difficult section of the two. First little bit out here, we have our steepest gradient of the day coming at 0.5 miles in to our race that is taking place right through here. Early on, you're going to be bunched up. There's going to be a ton of people, and the breakup doesn't really happen on this course until you get to about the 10-mile mark, believe it or not. The groups are just constant, especially if you're towards the back of the pack, and the groups really stay together, and there's a lot of people that are running similar paces out here. Front of the race it's kind of similar. There's going to be a lot of people that are together, and the trouble spots or the tough spots out here are the mid packers. The mid packers are going to break up. They're going to kind of be all over the place, and you're going to kind of be running in no person's land. So if you are a mid person pack, just be prepared to kind of have a mental battle on your hands through the entire day. Now, let's talk about the first little part here. We do have the steepest part of our elevation. If I could actually not unclick that, that'd be great, which takes place right through here. Hooking a left before we dive in on, I believe this is Narragansett right through here. So we are running Annandale Road, which is a very, very great spot. The problem with Annandale Road is it is it's a downhill stretch, slight downhill stretch. So everyone's going to be, they're going to hit this uphill. They're going to lose a lot of that race speed, the race target. So they're going to try to all get it back here. Once you hit Narragansett, this is the similar spot as well. This road is a downhill drag. We are going to be met with a slight hill going up to, I believe that's what is that, Spring? Um, Bellevue. And then it does drop down once you get down here. The drop down is going to affect you. There's going to be lots of scenery out here. You're going to be able to have open sight lines, and it's going to be a go section for a lot of people getting down to kind of that Kings Park area over here. Watch out here. This is a trap. This is a trap big time. And if you've looked, we are, from mile point 0.9 all the way down through here to 5. You have the opportunity to really floor it here, and the temptation will be there, and you won't even realize it's happening. So watch out here. This is a common area where athletes really, really overdo this section. Overstriding is very common. Overpacing is what we're talking about right now. When you get to this section right here, a lot of athletes will feel really good. Totally skip this aid station. Don't even need to bother with it. Weather is also going to be a major factor here. Once you get to this section over here, make sure you take note of what's happening with the wind. Sometimes this can be a secluded wind area, other times this is wide open. It just depends on what's happening, and this is your first real wind checkpoint out here, or weather checkpoint. If it is a rainy day, I don't really care what the weather says, it's going to be a little bit of a rough go right through here if it is raining. Then you're going to be met with a little bit of a hill before you wrap back over here towards the fort. This section over here where we do have our hill. This is a rhythm breaker. 3.5% is the gradient out here. It doesn't last for very long, right? But it's just enough to kind of throw you off a little bit. Compounding this 3 miles into your race, you're going to be surrounded by loads of other people, so watch out over here. Watch them to string you along, watch them to stop and break your rhythm. So this is a very, very important section for you out here. This is an opportunity for you to recheck your form, recheck your running dynamics, heart rate, all of that fun stuff, and see what's going on 3 miles into your race. Hang in your right turn or right bend around over here before we get to the fort. You are going to have a little bit of an up down section right here. And when you do get to that fort, we are dropping down pretty aggressively right through here. And you're hanging a right, and it's going right back up again to the fort. So this is a challenging spot right here. You're up, you're down, you're kind of all over the place here. Another rhythm breaker section in these first 4 miles. Very, very challenging stuff out here. So the first half of our marathon, right, it's going to be more challenging, from a management standpoint. Second half is going to be more challenging from a mental standpoint, and I'm sure you're figuring that out now. As we exit the fort, we are going to have to climb out and drop down over here again, so watch out. This is going to be where cramps start to kind of open up a little bit if you're going way too hard, way too fast. If you don't experience anything, this is going to be the sections where you kind of set yourself up for success or failure right through here. So pacing is very, very critical in these first 5 miles. I cannot emphasize it enough. As you hang a right out of the fort over here, you're going to be greeted by a slight gradient up through here. This is about a 2% gradient, nothing major to write home about over here. It's just enough to kind of be a little annoying. So you'll find that a lot of athletes will take this section and naturally just push the pace through this spot right here. Watch out for that. Be careful. And again, make sure you're running your race right through here. Because it is a slight uphill section, this is always an opportunity for you to check your running form. What's going on? How am I doing? Am I overstriding? Am I landing underneath me? And the list goes on and on and on and on. This section over here it's kind of a rolling broken section, and that's the point at which you get to the water out here. This section is usually a windier section, right? Very similar to our Kings Park sections. That's why. And this is going to be another opportunity for you to get your head on your shoulders and get yourself ready to rock. Once you get out over here, if the wind conditions are doing exactly what we said, going something like this, then this section over here is going to be a headwind section. Immediately following that is going to be a tail. Oh, excuse me. I got my things mixed up. This section over here immediately following is going to be a tailwind section out here. Because of that, these two sections are run a little bit different right here. We are going to have a little bit of a hill to navigate, but it does go away very, very quickly out here. As we continue over this crest of this hill into our headwind, the wind will become stronger and stronger and stronger once you get to the point out here before it turns. If you really floor your effort level right here, you find that you will start to overheat a little bit, and this is not a free section, but an opportunity where you can make a mistake with little penalty out here. If you do find yourself going a little too hard, you are going to have the cooling effect from the Atlantic Ocean right there, cooling you off, so it does get mitigated a little bit. I'm not giving you a free pass, but you do get one naturally right through here. Again, we're about 6.6 miles into the race, so an opportunity for you to kind of push it, test out the waters a little bit. You got 20 miles-ish left to go. As you round the bend, you will immediately know in this race scenario right here, this is exactly where we are, you will immediately feel the effects of that tailwind right through here. It's going to be a slight downhill or rolling downhill. You are going to have some mild hills out here. I believe this is not the correct elevation profile out here. But you are going to have some ups and downs for sure. This section over here, this zigzag section is going to be a little aggressive initially, probably right through here, right? This is going to be a little aggressive of a downhill spot, and this is going to be your first real opportunity to kind of set yourself up for cramps right through here. Very common for athletes to smack the floor when they get through this section. Very common to overstride. Very common for form to kind of go out the window over here. Scenery will be at the top of a lot of people's checklists here. And this is going to be one of the picturesque places out here. Also, you will have an aid station that you will directly be able to see once you get around to the water section right over here, and it is a straight shot with a slight uphill again. So another just pace crusher right through here, and an effort trap. So watch out here. Tailwind section means you're going to be kind of overheating, and I say that in quotations. The weather's not going to be super crazy. It's not going to be really, really aggressive, at least most years, last couple of years, if we use that as a frame of reference. So again, we do have the opportunity to kind of push it slightly over here, or to let the wind push you a little bit. Don't force it, but just kind of let it happen if you are doing that. You will have probably your most aggressive tailwind at this section right through here, right? And as you are rolling around, the tailwind will actually kind of go away a little bit. It'll turn more into a crosswind. Again, I don't really care what the weather's saying. That's going to be what's happening during this section right through here. A cross tailwind. If the reeds are high right over here, the cattails, then you're going to be shielded from that cross tailwind anyways, and it's going to be all on you before you get to one of the toughest places on the course, which is the uphill right through here. We can actually zoom in a little bit because we're getting a little more into the nitty gritty. It's kind of a double hill out here. You get hit with the first incline and then the second one as well before you wrap around and complete it. About a 3% grade, but it will bite. It will bite for sure. And as you go around this section, you're going to be greeted with a nice downhill. Again, this is a downhill that will bite. It has teeth in it. It's not just a free downhill. It's a little bit steeper than what is out here right now. Once you hit this spot, it's pretty much a slow climb all the way back into town. Once you get to Salve over here, you're going to have another aid station, another water station over here before you do a quick left and right, and you're going back on Annandale. Once you get to this aid station, then the crowds are just going to be getting more and more and more as you go. Once you're on this Annandale Road, a very popular corner is the one right over here on Memorial. That's going to be where one of the biggest spectator sections is. And with that, a lot of adrenaline is rushing through your body. I would do your best, if you're doing the marathon, to ignore all of that external stimulus. All right. The reason for that is you hit this spot over here, you can see the finish for the half marathon. Spirits will be high. It's great. It's grand. There's loads of people out here, and a terrible thing happens. If you are doing the half, you will go right. If you're doing the marathon, you're just going to go through a little cone section, and they will go from being a ton of people to no people very, very quickly. You're going to hang a right at the stoplight up here, and you are going to be greeted by the loneliness of the second half, and we are going to highlight it for you so you can see it in its entirety. Again, keep in mind, if you want to dive in a little bit more, you can look at it over here, right? This is one that's over here. And again, kind of perks to athletes that we have that are racing. So as we go over here, you're going to have a steady incline. Most of the time, you're going to have a crosswind. If it's a great day, you're going to have a tailwind section coming up this section over here, and that will last as you wrap around, and it will continue to push you home over there. In a perfect world, the wind will die after this or completely switch direction, which has been known to happen. So again, watch out. That's a great example of how your kind of race dynamics and expectations can shift during a race. As we roll on a steep downhill section right through here, so what happens during this section is a lot of athletes will overdo it and then be greeted by this downhill, and they'll continue to overdo it, and their quads really, really pay the price, and you're at 15 miles and you got 11 more to go. So be careful here. This is a great rhythm section out here. It's just an out and a back. A lot of athletes get really mentally beat up out here. And again, think back to our spectator thing. There's probably not going to be a ton of people out here at all, especially after you get past the Second Beach parking lot for sure. It's pretty much just athletes out here. So as you get all the way down, I'll zoom in for you. You can see you're literally just going to go around the little turnaround spot over there before you head back up around the lake. Now, are once you head up around this body of water, this is going to be one of the more difficult hills on course. I believe this is the steepest incline outside of the first point 6 of our race. This hill doesn't last very long, but the problem is you have our steep hill, and you're going to be able to run pretty much as you want to after this, and then you're going to be hit with another hill right up here. Immediately after that, you're going to have one of your more punishing downhill sections on the course, one of the most sustained downhills, if not the one, right? And that is going to have some consequences out here. It's going to have some consequences. Once you get through this section right here, you are going to have a steady uphill drag to the turnaround point up here. You're going to have a slight little dip over there in elevation once you get to that turnaround, that far spot. And again, all of this is going to be pretty much on your own out here. So like I said before, if we're looking at in terms of difficulty for our first half versus our second half is much harder mentally, and so a lot of people associate the second half as being much more challenging than the first half, which in reality, it's the opposite. So if you're mentally tough out there, the second half is going to be your bread and butter. I would envision it as just kind of like a training day for you. Nothing's changed. You're just doing it with a bunch of other people out here. As you turn around, though, things slightly change. Things are looking up. We do have a slight downhill, a broken downhill through here. But again, you got to think back to our weather, right? We are going to be facing a headwind as well. So this is an opportunity for you to kind of push the pace a little bit. Coming at mile 20, having about 5.5 miles left to go. This is a spot where you should be going if you are feeling good. Once you get to this hill right here, once you conquer this hill, this is going to be one of the most difficult spots out there, and you are going to have that double downhill hill leading to our finish line. Now, the finish line, we don't have to do the out and back over by the bird sanctuary at all. You are going to hang a right, hang a left. You're going to go up that steep hill past, was that Second Beach? Past Second Beach over here. You're going to be doing your little V pattern right here, and you're going to hook on in for the finish line. So that's our race kind of in a nutshell. Again, biggest things to watch out for are your form. Initially, it's going to be pacing and having other people rile you up and kind of getting you off of your game, your race plan. And then as that progresses, all of the scenery, twists and turns, things like that are going to take away from your ability to maintain your running dynamics that have gotten you to the start line, right? Watch the surges out here, watch the spectator ramps. Maintain your mentality out here and don't let the spectators lift you up too high or bring you down too low. Find that happy median and kind of tune everything out here. Weather is highly volatile. It can be low 30s, it can be 70s in a perfect day, and anything in between. So make sure you are keeping track of that. If it's a rainy day, keep in mind that your expectations might need to be throttled back a little bit. If it's a perfect day, it's a perfect day out here. We've had a lot of athletes qualify for Boston, even though it is considered a harder course. That's because the elevation in the first half, you're carried through with a lot of friends and foes around you, and then the second half is all mental. So if you're there, you're there. All right. Big thing for me is I would keep track of the athlete guide when it does come out for 26 with the nutrition on course. And if there is nothing with calories on it, I would plan to bring my own. That's the 2026 Newport Marathon in a nutshell. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out below. Happy to talk with anyone on an individual basis for race day success. Good luck, everybody.